Hello and welcome to Squid Pro Quo, a Squid Game podcast where there are only 3 rules. 1, a player is not allowed to stop podcasting. 2, a player who refuses to podcast will be eliminated. And 3, the podcast will be terminated if the majority agrees. I'm Sean.
And I'm Mike. And humans are...
Humans are what? What is your ending to the humans are, you know?
Well, I can tell you we're not racehorses.
We're not. We're not horses, we're humans.
So here we are in episode 6, the final episode of season 3, and final episode of Squid Game, question mark?
You know what?
Question mark?
To me, this is the final episode of what this show's about. We'll talk about
I might say, to me, the final episode was the final episode of season 1.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, no, absolutely. No, you're right. No, I mean, like I said last time, I wish these 2 seasons had never happened, but I guess what I'm already hinting at is that the final scene doesn't bug me as much as I've seen other people get frustrated by it, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, to be honest, okay, we'll get to that. Yeah, let's kick off the episode. I have an email, but it's very episode focused.
Okay.
So I think what we'll do, guys, is because we haven't released any episode other than the first one yet, and I want to give you guys time to tell us what you think and suggest things based on the episodes we recorded. So what we'll do is we will, in about a month or so, you and I will do like a kind of recap episode like we've done with the other 2 seasons. Yeah. And read your guys' emails and read your comments and talk about the future of Squid Game and all that. So get your emails in, squidboysspq@gmail.com, and we'll definitely go over that stuff once we get out of this. We've let it settle a little bit. We've let the season settle, you know.
Maybe take a look at the 2 seasons again. I don't know that I'll watch both of them again, but I might, click through them and watch some important scenes.
Right.
And see how I feel. I think we kind of briefly discussed before we started recording, just for people, our kind of plan for this episode is the final episode is kind of split into 2 parts. There's the end of the games, and then there's like a 6-month after epilogue. Our plan right now is to just kind of, we'll talk about the first half of the episode as a whole, and then we'll talk about the second half of the episode as a whole, but it's all a little too interlinked for us to go scene by scene or anything like that. But what I want to ask you before we actually start talking about the nitty gritty in the episode, how do you feel as a whole about the season 3 finale of Squid Game?
I wasn't I've seen a lot of people on the internet be very offended by this episode in the way it ends. I wasn't personally offended by it. I thought it was pretty much what I described when you asked me last episode, and it's what I expected. I was hoping for a little more catharsis from Junho and Inho, that relationship. And a little bit that's the big question mark that I think is the most interesting question that season 2 and season 3 had, and then they didn't really do anything with it. And so that leads me to believe that there's going to be more of this show, because that's such an unfinished thread.
We'll see.
In a lot of ways.
There is conversation from the creator about Inho that I want to talk about later that I disagree, or I guess I shouldn't say I disagree with his reading. I should say I don't think he got across what he intended. Because I read what he when he spelled out his intention of Inho's final episode, his actions in this final episode, and I don't think that's at all what comes across on the screen. There's other reasons for that. We'll talk about the creators postseason wrap up that he's been giving, because I think that there's some interesting things that he says. As a whole, I watched this last night pretty much immediately after we recorded. I liked this episode more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah.
I really thought I was going to hate it. I really thought that none of it was going to work. And they make a lot of decisions that I really don't like, but the way that it's all executed, the moments worked, the moments landed. I don't know that I'd say I'm satisfied, but I'm not mad. I think I had a good time.
I think it's a well shot piece of television, right?
Yeah.
If you were just somehow taking this out of context and going, hey, this is television, I think for the most part the scenes are good, the writing's fine, like there's not anything that you go, wow, what a terrible decision. A lot of it was chalk, but I think if you include all of the controversy and everything around seasons 2 and 3, that's what it kind of informs my feeling on it, where I didn't, like I said, I wasn't personally offended by this. I thought they made some decisions that were different, and it doesn't necessarily feel satisfying or wrapped up, but I think they did the best they could do considering everything else around.
Yeah. I think this is the best version of this ending that we would have gotten from season 2 and 3 as they are. I don't think there's a better final episode. I think that you could have
to change some things fundamentally.
If you're gonna have a better finale than this, I think you need to totally change seasons 2 and 3. I don't think there's a way you could just change this episode and make it better. I think this is probably the best they could have done.
I agree. So I guess let's get in now that we got our overarching thoughts. Let's get into the episode a little bit. Our Junho, sexy cop man, as we used to call him back in the day, he meets up with the player, the dad of the sick child, and he guides them to the island. And I'll just run through kind of this quick part of it because it bounces around. But they tend to his wounds and they call the Coast Guard. But Junho is going to go scuba towards the island, and he tells the other Special Forces guy, like, hey, let the Coast Guard know of everything that's going on here.
Yeah.
So he heads out.
And I gotta ask, I'm really curious as to what happened with Junho. Because I think Junho's the weakest part of the finale for me, by far, by a lot. I kind of want to get off of Junho, actually, because I think that it'll be easier to talk about him after we talk about Gihan and his the way his story wraps up. Because the way that it kind of
we can just talk about
that.
Yeah,
the way that the episode is kind of structured is, Junho and the guard lady kind of have they have stuff that happens at the beginning of the episode, then the Gihan stuff happens, and then we go back to them. So we Gihan and MG Coin and the baby in the final round of the game.
So MG Coin gets the bright idea of crossing the bridge first, and Gihan makes the mistake of setting the baby down so he can retie his little baby holder made out of the mother's jacket. And MG Coin grabs the pole in the middle and says, hand the baby over. You're staying over there.
So
now the MG Coin, despite his inherent, the way this games have warped him, normally has some pretty sound, smart ideas. This one doesn't exactly pass the smart check insane. because basically what he's saying is he's going to leave Gihan over there, and then he's going to chuck the baby off the edge, because that's what he would have to do instead of having Gihan come over and start the game properly. So I'm not quite sure. I mean, I guess he just said he was lying about the baby.
I mean, that is
wanting to take care of the baby.
I think that's what the show says. The show says, Gihan explicitly says, you would, because Gihan pretty much he offers to kill himself.
He does at one point. Yeah.
So I think the reading you have to take from this is that MG Coin here wants all the money, and he's going to kill Gihan, and he's going to kill his kid.
Well, and I think what's important about this to note, through thinking about season 2 and season 3 with Junhee, is she's very. There are times, especially early on, where you go, man, for a guy that got her pregnant, she really hates this guy,
and for a guy that throughout the games at least is really trying.
Right. Well, that's the thing you think, but
this
maybe
proves
because of the way he's acting,
right.
This proves
the
that
whole time
she was 100% right, and maybe he was more abusive or more, than we were led on to believe.
I don't think
right?
that anything good comes out of MG Coin. I don't think the way that he talks to Gi-han about like, oh, you knew her outside of the games, didn't you? Like the way he just loses it. Like he just totally loses it.
Yeah.
He's gonna kill his kid. Like I don't know. Yeah, I think this just shows like, because throughout the season I kind of kept it to myself, but I had wondered where they were going with MG Coin. And whether he was being genuine, I couldn't tell throughout the entire season, but I feel pretty confident now that no, he wasn't genuine at all in any of the season.
Right. So Gi-han decides to set down the baby on the bridge. And it's important to note that they do something different here. The game makers, they go, hey, you have 5 minutes to get across the bridge.
Yeah.
But MG Coin grabs the baby using the pole. Mm-hmm. And while he's doing this, Gi-han ducks down and stealthily grabs the knife out of the guy's abdomen.
I was getting very excited at this point. Himself. I'm not going to lie. I was ready for the 1v1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As the bridge closes, Gi-han makes kind of a running jump and roll, which was pretty sick.
It's pretty fucking cool, dude.
Yeah, he lands it pretty cool.
Did you realize what was going to happen at this moment? Because I did.
Oh, the moment that they say, please activate the button.
But their fight, yeah.
Their fight, you're like, oh, he's going to kill him, and then he's going to have to kill himself.
Yeah.
Which I originally, when you asked me last episode, I thought, oh, maybe he'll sacrifice himself and MG Coin will turn out to have the heart of gold that I think the series wants you to think that he's going to reveal his like true heart of gold in the end. But that just kind of proves the hypothesis that this show's about that this guy.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. I don't know if I agree that that's the hypothesis of at least season 1. I think seasons 2 and 3 are more cynical about people than season 1 was.
It's not the hypothesis of the show in season 1, but it is 001's hypothesis.
Yes.
That he's trying to push on Gi-han.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
And the hypothesis that the front man is trying to push on Gi-han as well, right?
I don't.
People they'll do the wrong thing when it comes to greed and money and all that. Yeah. It's a strange choice. We can talk about. I want to talk about it later, but the creator has specifically said this wasn't his plan initially. And we can talk more about that later. So, but I just, I don't know. It definitely feels very contrary to what I thought the show was trying to say. It almost seems like the show is siding with the Squid Game. Not, morally, but like in the philosophy of it. Like, yes, like, because their philosophy is these people are trash anyway. They'll do the wrong thing, blah, blah, blah. So it doesn't matter that we're killing them or putting them in a situation where they could die, right?
Because
they're terrible people.
Like, and when you think about it, like last episode, I was kind of hesitant. I said at the beginning of the episode, I was like, Gi-han absolutely should kill all these people, right? And just take the baby and leave. Like that is the safest thing to do.
Right.
And then I was like, Minsu, like that wouldn't, that's not. I still think Minsu, that would be cruel to Minsu, but the other one was, I was like, I don't know if MG Coin, that would be cool. And at this point I'm like, no, he absolutely should have killed MG Coin then. Like,
well, and in Gi-han's mind, MG Coin, he doesn't know he's the dad of the child.
Yeah, like, and that's additional information that I'm, placing on that.
Right, that we
on
know.
That scene.
Yeah.
But now it's like, I mean,
he should have killed everybody.
Yeah, he should have killed all of them. Like
100%.
And that is then okay. So the front man was right,
but also no, because here, what happens is they struggle for a long time. They don't hit the button. they both fall, and Gihan happens to hold on to some rebar, and then his jacket rips, and MG Coin falls through Steph.
Yeah.
But I think Gihan still, you're right. It's somewhat proving the hypothesis right that he should have done that. But what Gihan's proving right to himself is that he didn't stoop to that level.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily work because of the Daeho of it all, right?
Well, I guess there's that.
In my opinion.
There's that, and there's we've proven that Gihan is a good person, right? Like he's a hero. I love him. He's a good person. We've played the games twice. That's 912 players total. So we've proven that one person out of 912 people is good. Well,
no, that's not true.
That's not true.
That's not true.
Let's round it up to 10. Let's round it up to 10. Throughout both seasons.
It's probably a little more than 10, I would say, because when you take the 456 that start red, green,
okay,
white,
yes. Like we don't get to see
a
all
lot
of
of those
those
are just people down on their luck, right? So I would say if you gave 25% of the people as being innocent and good in this, I think that would be fair.
Yeah, I guess.
But we're also taking a sample of people who are down on their luck and have gotten in severe debt. There's not people who are have a 800 credit score that are walking into these games, right? You know what I mean?
I'm exaggerating my point to make it for sure.
Right.
But I think that having it come down to Gihan being the one guy in this final group that isn't a mess is I don't know. I think it distorts the messaging of the show to make it almost seem like what it's saying. And I don't believe this is the intention of the show, to be clear, but I think that it almost comes across as Gihan is supernaturally good, he is.
Well, he is. I think that that's intentional because he's standing for, virtue and truth in this, right? And he's trying to prove that people can get through this without being corrupted. Yeah. But the problem I have with it is not that there's not anybody else, but that he choked a man to death 2 episodes ago or
for being
whatever,
scared,
right? And while that they did do some work to make that man threaten him and attack him, at the end of the day, he chased down a guy and strangled him.
A person who, at the end of the day, was scared. That was the crime that was committed.
And he was a liar, and people died because of him. Yes,
right? But at the end of the day, he's not the guy that's trying to throw his kid off of a thing, right? He's not a good person. There's so many worse people in this game.
Oh, for sure. We could do a whole dick measuring contest with who's the worst if we wanted to. Maybe that's a bonus episode.
That might be a good episode. Is who's the worst people?
Who are the worst people?
I think it has to be across both games. And I think
across both seasons.
I think Lorenzo is at the top.
Oh, you want to do the reality game too?
I think we had them in. I think Lorenzo is worse than MG Coin.
Do you think MG Coin's the worst?
Dude, he's gonna kill his kid. I don't know. That's pretty fucking bad. Maybe Ilnam is the worst because he's Ilnam, But MG Coin's pretty fucking bad. I think of this crop of people, MG Coin might be the worst. Because even Frontman spared his brother, right?
Yeah, he's like the stealth villain for the majority of the season, honestly. You think it's 100 at this point, but really he's just a cowardly old dude.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about this part. After this is all done, Gihan waits out the timer and stares at the VIPs the whole time.
And you know what? I gotta say, this works for me. Gihan's final moments worked for me.
So you like that he looked directly into my eyes.
I liked the way that they shot
and said, "We are not horses.
We're people." Yeah, I think
we are humans.
We are humans. Yeah,
and humans are, and then
I don't know about the humans are, and honestly, I wish they'd never shown the corpse. They show it later on, and I wish I hadn't seen that. But the final moments of him standing there and just letting the moment play, as the time ticks down, as he holds the baby, and thinking back to, the end of season 1 when Frontman is like, you bet on horses, because that's how we were introduced to Gihan all the way back in season 1. Like he was in his deck because he was a gambler, and he specifically horse races, and him saying like, you bet on horses, we bet on horses too. Like Frontman trying to say that what what is happening in the Squid Game is nothing different than what Gihan did in his previous life. And so I think that for where we're at now, this is the best ending that Gihan could have gotten. Like,
no, I agree. I don't have a problem with it. I guess if there's a criticism is, I think looking directly at the camera is a little much, because he's like, he doesn't like look at the VIPs. He doesn't look at the front. He looks at the camera. The creator of the show is like, I'm telling you, the viewer, this, right? And I thought that was, I don't understand. Like, I don't think anybody watching this show is going, yeah, man, these people, this is fun. Well, maybe. I don't know.
I think that is kind of our thesis, though, isn't it? That the creator doesn't think people got it.
He doesn't think that, but I think he's wrong.
I do think he's wrong too. I think he's wrong too. And there's stuff in his interviews that he says that I think is, I think shows that he has a different perspective on what is needed right now than me.
Right.
But
I get it. I get the looking at the camera. Like, that's not my problem with it, I guess. It's that, they show the VIPs as Gihan's falling. They zoom in on each one, right? And they have these masks on their face, so you can't really tell if there's a reaction from them at all.
And why would there be?
They just look kind of somber.
Why would they?
But I don't know. I would have liked some sort of, as much as I hated the VIPs during this, some sort of leading on in some sort of way that, hey, this affected them in some way. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that in a
we don't
different,
see them after that. They vanish.
I think if this show had a different thesis, yes, that would be interesting. I just don't think that's what, like, I at this point, I would have been like, but you're like totally cool with throwing the baby. Like, at this point, they're so evil to me that I would not, showing any sort of like compassion for this moment would have rung false to me.
That's not what I was looking for. Compassion. I'm looking for, this motherfucker didn't follow our rules.
Okay, no, that I could see. That would have been interesting if they're angry. If they're angry that they didn't get the show. Okay.
I wanted the Hunger Games moment.
Yes.
I wanted the we were both going to eat the berries and we had to stop it because that would, and I get no one else is watching this, so that's not the same thing, but I wanted some sort of God damn it, this isn't fun anymore.
Yeah, you didn't give us our satisfaction. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I was not understanding what you were saying right then.
Yeah, I did not expect them to go, oh no, Gihan. Like, no, I wanted them to have some sort of reaction that was like, man, this motherfucker didn't play by the rules.
Especially when, like,
he technically did.
They set it up where one of them is like, no one's ever won it twice before. Like, they're so excited about what is about to happen. And so, I think
say that.
That's,
They say that too, and it's also like, did they? It seemed like, and I get that he could still win by throwing the baby, but clearly he's not going to do that. So, like, saying that to me is like, did you not understand that MG Coin just died for no reason?
Yeah, no, I don't think they get it.
I don't think they understand the rules of the fucking game. I think they're idiots.
I think they're stupid, yeah. I feel like there is I don't know, I feel like there's like this tragic reading that I had at the end of the episode as he's standing there preparing to end himself, where it feels now, if you look at season 1, that Gihan was dead the second that he entered the games in season 1. Because now the thesis of this is that even though he won in season 1, he wasn't able to let it go. And that brought him back, and that this was always where he would end up, is that he'd never be able to let it go, and that what he was up against was just too big. And that's really depressing. That's really, that my kind of reading of it is that he was dead from episode 1 of the show.
Right. Right.
And that's sad. Especially for a character that I really loved, you know?
Yeah. No, Gihan was great. I mean, I think a lot of the reason you're seeing reactions to this episode the way they are is because of people's love of Gihan. And him being the main character.
And I mean, I think that's a credit to like how he's written and how he's performed, like especially in season 1. And I think the performance is still stellar throughout season 2, even if I don't think the writing is as good.
Yeah, I think he does everything he can with the material. I just an insanely good actor, and I mean in season 1, the beginning at least, he was not a very likable character, right?
No,
on purpose, right? But he ended up becoming this character with the heart of gold, and all that. But one thing that happens that I wanted to know is obviously we didn't talk about this yet, but the Coast Guard shows up, and the front man is alerted to it, and he sets a self-destruct, an evacuation order for the island. And Junho shows up there and gets a face-to-face with the front man, kind of like through the window, because the front man goes to collect the baby, and he says he's going to shoot him, but he doesn't because it's his brother, and he's holding a baby. And everybody evacuates. The guard number 11.
I just want to point out the Junho just is like, why? He screams why.
Yeah.
And it feels
like they're asking, why did we do all this whole season?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's that, but it's also just
why did I spend all the time on the boat?
It feels and I'm again gonna extrapolate and probably reach too far, but I feel a disdain for the audience from the creator in that it will never be answered. Like this thing, this closure that you desperately want as the audience, and he's never gonna give it to you. Because even with what we get into, what we'll talk about later, with what happens 6 months later, the relationship between Junho and never has any closure, ever. And I that feels purposeful, and it feels like a little bit of almost aggressive towards me. I took that personally, is what I'm saying.
Aggressive towards you and possibly towards Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know we've talked about in the last episode that maybe like this is what he really wanted to focus on, but then when you watch this last episode, the reading to me is that he didn't want to bring Junho back to life, and is doing it because they said, "Hey, you need something like this," and
people really like
the why is why did we do all this?
Yeah, why did we do all this? And guess what? I'm never gonna let you feel the resolution to that. Is the answer,
and that's the thing I've seen a lot of people be mad about is we spent these 2 whole seasons with this motherfucker on this boat. He gets in there, and right as it's about to explode.
Yeah.
And, hey, the guard burned all the files, but it didn't matter because they were blowing up the island anyway.
And, like, if he's dead in season 1, then you don't need the resolution of that relationship, because that's the resolution. The resolution is that Inho was willing to kill him. But the fact that do whatever you can to save him, he told Park, I don't care what you have to do, save him, So we don't.
And you can extrapolate that the idea was that, well, it's my brother, so I don't want to kill him. But I was hoping he wouldn't come back. Right?
Yeah. Did you have I had a different reading of what was going to happen at the end when you talked about the guard burning the files, and then she's about to kill herself during the end of the game because she finds out from the files that, according to the people running the games, at least, that the daughter that she's been looking for in North Korea is dead.
Yes. So you're asking me...
So my thought was, like, she's about to kill herself. She goes, she sees the baby survives.
First she hears the baby cry.
Yes. And she sees that Gihan isn't going to kill the baby.
Right. So she pulls the gun away.
I thought she was going to go take the baby. Yeah,
I thought that the Marvel, everything turns out good head in me was like, okay, so Junho and the guard are gonna meet up because they're both in a similar area, and they're gonna go save Gihan.
Oh, okay.
And the baby.
I wasn't thinking that.
Like that. I knew that wasn't what was gonna happen, but like all the media I've consumed recently has like happy ass endings like that, right? And so if it was the happy ass, like palatable for the general public
saved
ending,
Gihan,
that's what they would have done. But then there's also, like you said, there's also the thought where she just goes and grabs the baby instead of the front man.
And I thought that was gonna be her moving on and her.
Like she has a baby now.
She grows.
She replaced her dead baby.
And that's dark, but like she finds a reason to keep going, right?
Right. But it was just the idea that he saved that baby that made her go,
which I guess I don't know that really makes any sense to me. Later on, we get her resolution after the 6-month break, but she needs to, have this moment first.
Yeah, and she didn't know that was going to be the resolution.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah. So
I don't know. I really was like, I was actually kind of into that idea. I was like, okay, she's going to take the baby. She's going to raise a baby. Like, that makes sense. Yeah. Like, this is why she's in the show, why we spent the time on her, But no, I guess Frontman takes the baby for 6 months too, Like, he's just got that baby for...
He's just got a baby.
Do you think maybe, he thought like, I'm going to raise the kid? Because remember, he wanted a kid. And then he got 6 months in and he was like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this.
That's possible. I mean, the 6-month thing, I feel like is only there to make it convenient that that's like the shortest amount of time brother could be in jail.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, I think that I don't think the 6-month mattered to the other things that happened in it. It's just for that specific part of it, they made it 6 months later.
Before we jump to that 6 months later, I do want to say I really like the music during the whole episode.
Yeah, music's very good.
I think the music is really good. I liked seeing all of the arenas again one last time.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say that earlier, and we got talking about Junho in general, but they do this thing where right before everything is going to explode, they show like pretty much all the arenas that games were played in over the last 3 seasons, and they play
over the last 2 seasons. They they don't show, they show the red light, green light, but that's only because it was in season 2. They don't show any of the sets from season 1.
Yeah, they do. They show the playground.
Because they use that in the season 2.
Hold on. I got it right here. Let me.
Where do they?
It's before they zoom in on Gihan's eye.
I'm looking at the.
Okay, they show the hide and seek. They show the jump rope. They show the. Yeah, I guess maybe you're right.
Which, like, I guess the sets don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And the implication is that the rooms have been repurposed for some of these games.
Yeah, that's true. Like, the playground was definitely...
The playground was the racing set. The 4-legged race set is the...
Right. But they also... It looks like the exact same set they do the cookie on.
Yeah. And you could probably say that the jump rope was maybe tug of war or glass bridge.
Yeah.
Oh, it's probably glass bridge, right? Yeah, because...
Yeah, glass bridge, yeah.
But, like, it just...
And I think... The final game could have been where they played tug of war.
That might have been where they played tug of war. You're right. So, like, the rooms are repurposed. I think if they could have gone the extra mile to show all the rooms, I think that would have been cool. But I get that the sets don't exist.
If they would have thought about it when shooting season 1, that would have been smart.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they play this, like, it's the, like, original theme, but, like, a orchestrated piano kind of sad version of it.
Also, this feels really corporate and weird because I'm saying how much I like this scene, but it really is like a sad emotional goodbye to this fucking horrific capitalist death game place. Like, that feels so fucking Netflix corporate of like, oh, we're really sad to see this show go. And it's like, no, we should be cheering that this place is blowing up. Like, this place is horrible,
right.
And they got my ass. 100%. Like, I was like, oh man, I'm sad to see this show go. And now I'm thinking about it as we're talking about it. I'm like, wait, this is fucking insane.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then this part of the episode kind of ends with Junho seeing the Coast Guard ship and then someone breaking into Gihan's pink motel and taking all of his money that he left on the bed. And it's revealed later who that is, but that's the last thing that happens before the 6 month later text shows on the screen.
Yeah.
My question was, did they grab the piggy bank when they were leaving?
I mean, they must have.
Brother has to go back to get this money in order to give it to, Gi-han's child, but did they what about the piggy bank money? I guess they showed their sleeping quarters and it's not there when they show it.
They must have taken it. They had half an hour. I'm sure they had time.
That's true. That there's got to be like a contingency where it's like, hey, you're the team that goes and grabs the fucking piggy bank, all right?
You're piggy bank.
There's 4 of you. You lift that piggy bank. You get it on the fucking boat.
Yeah, you get moving.
Right?
You're not allowed.
A fucking wand.
You're not allowed on the boat without the piggy bank. That's your key.
We will not let you on without the piggy bank.
Can I ask you a question as we cut 6 months later?
Sure, yeah.
Why did the fucking dad have to go in the games?
What do you mean?
The dad of the sick child. Why do you have to go in the games?
Oh, you're saying like narratively?
Like narratively, and like the kid's fine. He didn't get any of the winning money.
Oh, yeah. Well, he said thanks to everybody's help.
Yeah, but that's not like that's not any of the winning money. We know where all the winning money went. And at first I was like, maybe,
So, okay, here's what they should have done. And maybe that was the original plan and then they cut it. But she should have grabbed some money at some point.
Yeah.
And then, like, I anonymously gifted him money to save her, you know? Like, that should have been in there.
Yeah.
That little girl is very adorable.
Oh, absolutely.
Actress.
I'm so happy that like this goes the way that it goes. But I was like, so the money is gonna, that's how it all happened. Just fucking no. Just no.
It just worked out
It just worked out for him. He just did all of this for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, Sean, if we're being honest, you could say that about all of this.
I guess that's definitely,
you know what I mean?
That's definitely true.
You could say that about all of this.
Yeah.
So she gets her he's like a caricature artist, and she gets her thing done by her caricature drawn by him just to see the little girl so she can give her a little popsicle or lollipop. And he's like, I kind of feel like I know you from somewhere. And she doesn't reveal that she saved him. No. Because he never saw her face.
I don't think you can tell him that you were the guard, because then you did still kill a bunch of people.
Yeah.
You did right on this one, but you were in red light, green light shooting people.
Oh, absolutely. You were gunning them down. She gets a call in her car from our friend from season 1. He's also in season 2, but the guy that was looking for her daughter, who was also looking for Sai-byuk's mother in season 1. But we get a call from him. He's saying, hey, someone thinks they saw your daughter in China.
This is so fucking weird. This is so weird.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did this way. I'm happy for her, but I don't know why they did it this way.
Yeah, I feel like there was probably, because of the way Gi-han's story ended, there was probably a push to have some resolution and happy ending for people.
Yeah.
Would be my guess. Yeah. And so for her, I mean, that's the easiest character to kind of do it for.
And I guess maybe the idea is don't give up hope, even when you read the file that says that she's definitely dead.
Right.
I guess that's the part. Like, what's the point of having the file say that she's absolutely dead and I guess maybe it's, there's always hope, I guess. But I don't get that from any of the rest of the show. So I feel pretty at odds with the rest of the messaging of the show.
Yeah, we then cut to the penitentiary where our good friend is finally free, and Junho and the guy that didn't tell him the cops were coming get him out.
I do love their little friendship is very funny.
He says, "Do you think delicious tofu can erase what you did?" But then he goes to talk about how great jail is now. Like he's like, "Hey, it's not so bad, you know."
And we can just finish off that storyline really quick, I think, because they just then go and they're going to open up that motel again.
They're going to go open up that motel, and they talk about how the money was taken. Junho gets back to his dwelling after remarking that he can't be a detective anymore because of everything that happened.
Yeah, fair enough.
And the baby is sitting in a cradle in his house. And
in the jacket.
In the jacket.
Which is...
But a clean jacket, not the bloody jacket.
I guess that is true. That is... No, it's got blood on it.
A clean... Does it? Well, that's
and that's actually something I wanted to talk about because this he said something crazy about that.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
I'm looking at it right now.
Blood on the look at the numbers. There's red. Because Fretman does the same thing to Gihan's daughter. Yeah,
it's kind of a weird thing.
I saw a quote from him. I don't know if I have it written down, but I saw a quote about this.
Oh yeah, they cleaned it, but there's definitely a stain. It's definitely not fresh blood. They definitely cleaned it. But there's like stains of blood on the numbers. You're right. But it's not like fresh blood on there. So he gets the debit card with the 222 winner, and he goes and uses it and finds out there is 45.6 billion won on the card.
Yo!
So Junho is now raising a baby, and he's a billionaire. So what a, maybe it was all worth it to him, hanging around on that boat, doing all that. I don't know. Do you think it was all worth it to him, Sean?
I don't know why we're doing any of this with him. I'm not, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
You're not a fan of this part?
I'm just not a fan of what they did with him.
Yeah. We didn't cut to the airport where Saibyuk's mom is arriving from wherever she was hiding. And the guy calls him Saibyuk's mom, even though her other child, whose name escapes me, Chol, is standing right there. Yep. So he goes, "Hey, that girl that died, it's her mom."
Well, it's because it's to remind the audience this is a plot point.
Sure. But it's just silly. It's silly. And what's his name's mom, who's been taking care of Chol, is there as well. Yep. That actress, we see her again. And then we find out that number 11 is still at that airport going to take her flight to China to look for her child. And she gets a call from that same guy.
I think there's something very interesting, actually, about contrasting Gihan at the end of season 1 being unable to take the flight to his family with this season ending with Saibyuk's mother arriving to her family. And
that's funny. I did have this thought when she gets the call.
Yeah.
Because he sees her from a distance. Yeah. And then when she gets the call, I was like, oh, fuck, is she going to, like, not get on her plane to go get her child, right? Yeah. But then it's just the guy going, hey, good luck on your trip. Hopefully you find her, blah, blah, blah.
So I think that's a good mirror to bookend it.
Yeah. I had a moment of terror there. Where I was like,
gotta go back into the game. I gotta go back to the game. Season 4.
Right.
Poor Woo Seok's not done.
We cut to Los Angeles, California.
Yes. Which I was so scared for a second because I forgot that Gihan's family lived here. I was like, oh, there's so much show left, and why are we in the U.S.?
Inho shows up at Gaiyong's house, Gihan's daughter, and he brings her a PlayStation 5. Which is super nice.
Yeah.
The pink edition.
Yeah.
It literally just looks like a fucking PlayStation box.
It does. It does.
And they should have made that joke. She should have been like, a PlayStation 5? That would have been really funny. But she doesn't initially want it at first because she's like, my dad has been terrible and I've stopped waiting to hear from him a long time ago. And then he goes, hey, your dad's dead and this is his belongings. Like, he wanted you to have it.
Yeah.
And so that gives her pause, and you could, you can tell Inho's a little affected by this. Mm-hmm. Like, it's almost like a general having to go tell the family of one of his soldiers that they died, right?
Yeah.
It's similar to that. And she gets his weird bloody suit and a debit card.
Yeah.
which presumably has the rest of his winnings that he collected from the motel for her. And then
we get a scene that should not have been in the show.
We get a scene that should not have been in the show where Inho rolls down his window to look down an alley, and Kate Blanchett, of all people, is playing Dadachi with what looks to be a homeless man. And doing the slap version where if she wins, she gets to slap him, like setting him up to be in the games. And Inho reacts to
What
this
is your
question
reaction
mark?
to, what do you think, how did you read his reaction to this?
So I think he didn't really react. I think he's just kind of like, yep. They have mentioned in this show that there are other Squid Games.
Yeah.
This isn't a new concept. The VIPs, I think even in season 1 said that the Korean
Ones are the best. Yeah.
Ones are the best, right?
Yeah.
And so to me this somewhat works.
Okay.
What doesn't work for me is there's no way in hell to recruit people in America that they would be playing Dadachi.
Yeah, no, it's fucking
Dadachi,
insane.
no one fucking knew what Dadachi was until the show in America.
No.
Now they do. Now people know.
It's fucking crazy.
Because of the popularity of the show. But no one fucking knew what, and in this world, Squid Game, the television show, doesn't exist, right? So no one would know what Dadachi is. It might. I don't know.
Can I read you this quote from the creator of the show about this scene?
Yeah.
I didn't have any intentions of wanting to drive all viewers into despair with the ending, laughs. But the premise of the last scene was that the frontman himself, he had heard of the other international games and recruiters being there, but he didn't know for sure. And so he was actually also shocked to see for himself that there is this recruiter in America as well, and it was by chance that he saw her.
I don't think, because the actor of the frontman is a very celebrated actor.
Very talented.
Okay?
Within this show, too.
Very talented, very celebrated, which is why one of the best parts about season 2 is his performance, because we get him out from the mask and get him to, like, I don't think they told him how he was supposed to react to this, if that's the case.
And it's
if the case is that he's supposed to be shocked, there's like I'm scrubbing through the scene right now. He has a slight look of shock on his, like, maybe like.
But then there's almost a look of acknowledgement between the two of them when they lock eyes.
Yeah, curiosity maybe, but he doesn't look shocked. Also, she looks weird.
Yeah.
I only read that it was Kate Blanchett. It might not actually be Kate Blanchett from looking at her. It is. I know it is, but like she looks strange.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just because of the suit or she just looks very strange.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like her to me, but maybe I'm just, being weird. But he looks mildly concerned, I suppose, but I don't think shocked is.
So I think the reason for that is that he was not supposed to be the one in this scene.
Right, it was supposed to be Gia.
Yeah, so let's talk about this quote from the creator, where he said, I don't know if I can call it an original ending, but in the beginning, I had a vague idea about how I would end the story. And back then, it was having Gihan end the game in one way or another and leave alive and go see his daughter in America. So originally, I thought the person who witnesses the American recruiter woman would be Gihan. But as I began writing the story, and as I began to think more and more about what do I want to deliver with the ending of this story, and also what should Gihan's journey and what should his destination be, I was witnessing more and more what was happening around the world, and I thought it was more fitting for Gihan to send this powerful and impactful message to the world with his death, and that should be how the story comes to a close.
Do you think that's what happened, Sean?
No, that's not at all what happened.
I don't either.
But I guess what he's trying to say is this is supposed to be a strong message for us, not necessarily the world inside the story. And I don't think that this is like, this is a philosophy that I like. This is my interpretation of this is what he's saying is that he sees how horrible the real world is getting. And he's like, I got to shock him out of it by like showing them something really fucked up and how there's no hope and that nothing can ever be sacred, because that will make, or not, and will ever be sacred, but nothing will ever work out for you. There's no happy ending. You're fucked. End of story. And that's really going to push people to want to like make things better. And I just don't think that's true. Like, as a philosophy, I don't subscribe to that. That like,
well, not even that, but
that's
like,
how we get out of our problems.
He doesn't even let it affect the world he's created.
No.
So why would it affect the world out there?
Yeah,
like,
no.
Like I said, my biggest problem with Gihan turning to the camera, looking at me and saying we're not horses,
Yeah.
and then jumping to his death,
Yeah.
is that there's the people he's trying to affect in his world have zero reaction to it. There's no, oh, he pissed me off. There's nothing. Maybe the front man was slightly moved by this, but that's another topic that we can talk about, because I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, his philosophy's completely changed.
I don't believe
and I'm
that.
like, where did you get that from?
Yeah, no, I didn't believe that.
I've seen people say that, and I don't, and not just in our community, but at large. Yeah, he switched sides. What?
Yeah, no, I don't believe that either.
He's riding around in a fucking Escalade,
Yeah.
giving money to people that are owed. That's what he did before.
Yeah.
I think he's just shown to be the guy he's always been, where he's doing this job out of necessity and maybe doesn't agree with everything that happens, but he's a dutiful soldier and does it. I don't think there's anything about his performance that would tell you that, man, he's really, now he's going to try to stop the games, or what? Besides maybe that he seems affected by giving the money to Gihan's daughter. Sure, he dropped off an orphan baby with his brother. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't change sides. He didn't become a good person. Like, that's just not at all what the show is trying to tell you. Like, I don't I'm
get
all
it.
for people interpreting things the way they want to interpret them, but that just seems like people are making that up out of thin air because they like the actor and they like, the character, even though he's a bad person. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me.
The creator went on to say, just like on what is the show trying to say, right? The creator said, the world seems to be headed for the worst. It seems to be becoming in so many different ways so much worse ahead. I thought, what kind of sacrifices do we need to make in the current generation for us to be able to leave the future generation with a better world? So I wanted Gihan's sacrifice to be a symbol of that. And I just don't, my problem at this point isn't the episode. I don't know if I understand this guy's philosophy anymore. I don't know if I agree with what he thinks is like what we need to do right now. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if this is super inspirational media that's going to get us to fix our problems. I think this is just going to depress a bunch of people and make them feel like there's nothing they can do about anything.
Well, and also not to get in the weeds on this, but I don't think a lot of the people that are causing the problems are going to watch Squid Game and go, well, that Asian fella killed himself, so I need to change how I'm doing stuff. That's not, that's just not, I don't think they're the target audience, unfortunately.
You don't think that a joint session of Congress was held to watch the season 3 of? They all sat together and watched season 3 of Squid Game.
Let me tell you, I know Inho, great guy, the front man they call him. He is the front of that organization. Great guy. He dropped a baby off with $1 billion won. You love to see it. That's not happening.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's. Well, I mean, that part might be happening, but I watched this show where this Gihan, he sacrificed himself for a baby, and I said, wow, we need to change things. We need to do things differently. That's just not.
Yeah. I don't know.
Media can affect people in a positive manner, but not in the way that, not drastically like that. And also, to your point, I don't think the message that actually came across is what he wanted to come across. Because you're right, it is a lot more you can try and try and try, and you're not going to get what you want, and you can kill you can cut off the head, but 2 more will grow. You know, like that's the message.
You can do everything you can for your fellow man, and yet they will still disappoint you in the end, and you'll have to kill yourself for a baby. like what is the message of this?
Yeah, I do think there's a message in there that Gihan, like at the end of the day, stood up for what he believed in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But what did that get him?
You can be a soldier of virtue like Gihan and do everything right and fight for a better world, and your fellow man will let you down, and you will not see that world come to pass, nor will it come to pass once you're gone. Like, It's just, I don't know, man. Like, I don't think this is the message to send.
Yeah. And maybe he can explain it better than maybe we're just cynical people, Sean,
but I think
and we just didn't absorb it in the right manner.
I think that's what the show says, regardless of what his intent is, because I don't know that that's his intent. Like, I don't know that he's like that, but that is what the show he created says, regardless of his intention.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Right. Well, you can interpret art a lot of different ways, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't. Our interpretation or my interpretation isn't the same as yours versus the same as somebody else's. But yeah, I just you know, I just don't. If he wanted to change how people were doing things, I don't think his demographic for this show is those people. You know, I just don't. But yeah. So he has said a lot of things in the media recently, and it feels a bit like, to me, a bit scrambly, like a bit like, oh, this wasn't received as well as we thought it was going to be, so now I have to say things.
Yeah.
Is that how you feel about it too?
I feel that. I don't know if because I don't know when these interviews happened. I don't know if they happened before there was time to even get the feedback, right? You know?
Right.
I think he knows. I think he's got to know, right? He's got to know that this didn't work.
But you think he wanted it to not work, right?
I think that he wanted it to upset us, but I think at some point the damage control aspect of it has to also come into of like, oh, this really didn't work. Like, this didn't work, not even on like I'm really going to stick it to you guys. It's just like my message got muddled.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of, I was on Reddit, which was a mistake, but I've seen a lot of people complaining about stuff like, oh, Junho's whole arc meant nothing. Gihan could have just waited and he would have been saved. You know, a lot of stuff that people say when they don't like an ending.
Yeah.
And then I've seen people defend it by going, well, here's the thing. You don't actually understand because it's a commentary on capitalism.
Yeah.
And then you get the people that come back and go, no, I understand it. It's just not executed well.
It's just not as good as the first season.
Right. And so I think that's probably where I land on it, is I'm that third person going, hey, I understand what he was trying to say and do. Yeah. It just wasn't done well from a writing standpoint. I think the show is shot beautifully. Yeah. I think the music is great.
I think the actors all do an incredible job.
Acting is really good for the most part. VIPs notwithstanding.
Yeah.
Yes, but even then, that's not the actors. That's the voiceover people, and it's not their fault either.
Yeah,
it's just a very weird
situation
thing to try and do. Yeah. And with everything looks great with the exception of the CGI baby at parts and the CGI dog. But even like the CGI they use, for example, with the jump rope, looks great.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was a moment where I was like, "Oh, this doesn't look great," and it's when it's the sideways shot of MG Coin and Gihan on the bridge, between the second and third arena, at the end there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought that.
I didn't notice.
I thought it looked really rough.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I didn't notice that. I'll have to go back and look at it, but most of it looked really good. It shot well. It's just, I think it got muddled because I do think, like we talked about last episode, it's hard to, when you have this story that you've been writing for years and years and years and tweaking, and then you finally get to make it, and then they go do another one, and you only have spent a year on it at most. It's hard to follow that up, you know? And I don't think that's, I think he's probably a very talented dude, and you know, but I think that's hard for, I mean, like I said with like Flight of the Conchords, they're very talented guys. They're very funny guys. It was hard for them.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard for anybody to just follow up on something like that when you've had so much time to cook the first part, and then the second part you're like, oh, I didn't have any time to do this at all.
I didn't have any time to do this at all. It was way more complicated with way more, you know, a lot more moving pieces in terms of plot lines. It's longer, so you have to come up with, you have to like make more of it. Like, yeah, no, I just think it's, I think the best case scenario, if they were going to do it this way, would have been a longer break between seasons 2 and 3. But even then, I don't know if that would fix anything. I guess maybe not breaking it in half and instead like taking more time to tell the story. I don't know.
Yeah, there was definitely some meddling done in there that didn't help. Yeah. Right? I don't know if it hurt it. I mean, it definitely hurt it, but I mean, I don't know if it ruined it. Yeah. But it definitely didn't help like, this is just more of like and I've talked about this, you know, we've beat a dead horse with it, but like, just calling it season 3 makes zero sense when you already break this stuff in half already. Yeah. And you go, hey, this is season 2.
Volume 1,
and this is season 2, part 2, you know? Yeah. And I think it's because the gap was bigger than they normally do, but that's just still asinine. Yeah. Like, it's just, it makes me feel like you're trying to fool me in some way, and I don't like that.
Yeah. We're not fools, Ted Sarandos.
We're not, yeah, we're not fools. All right? You can't fool us, but anyway, I'm really excited for Stranger Things.
I am actually very excited for
That's broken into 3 parts.
Hey, but that's being released in like in a decent time frame, and I'm actually happy about that because those motherfuckers are long, and I don't want to get spoiled.
That's true.
I think overall it's going to be the whole show comes out in the course of a month, so I'm okay with that.
I think it's a little longer than that.
I think maybe a month and a week because it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then New Year's.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I thought the first part came out in October.
No, it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then New Year's.
Yeah, my dad has gotten really into Stranger Things. He's been watching it with my little sister, and he had never watched it before. Okay. And he'll, like, every time I see him, he's like, "Man, can you believe Stranger Things?" I'm like, Dad, you were like 5 years late. He's like, "Man, how about when Max gets put in that coma? Like, what, is she alive?" I'm like, Dad, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, he's just like, you know.
He's like, I can't believe
that Billy guy was an asshole, right?
I can't believe this Will kid has gone missing. It's like, that came out in 2016.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's really funny. He's really into
that's
it, though,
awesome.
Which is
that's great.
Cool.
I love that show. Yeah. I'm very excited for the last season.
Yeah, it's a good show. Yeah, it's a good show. Yeah. It's definitely like a lot of things that are popular. It's overhyped. Yeah. You could say that about Squid Game too, but I think it's a quality show. Yeah. And I like when shows have ends, Sean.
Yes.
Which leads me to probably our last topic of the day is there's more of this, right?
Yeah. So,
like 100%.
So he said, quote, "I didn't end it on that note in order to deliberately leave room for further stories to happen. Gihan and Frontman, through these characters, the games in Korea have ended. And because this story started out with me wanting to tackle issues about the limitless competition and the system that's created in late capitalism, I wanted to leave it on a note highlighting the fact that these systems, even if one comes down, it's not easy to dismantle the whole system. It will always repeat itself. That's why I wanted to end it with an American recruiter. And I wrote that scene wanting an impactful ending for the show, not in order to open rooms for anything else." What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's why you cast Kate Blanchett. Right? That's why you cast a famous actress.
He went on to say...
You could have just cast any white woman.
He went on to say...
You know what I mean?
Honestly, Nothing has been said to me officially by Netflix about this. I've only read it in articles myself as well. I've always been a huge fan of David Fincher's work from Seven, and I've loved his films. So if he were to create an American Squid Game, I think that would be very interesting to watch. I would definitely click on it immediately after it's released if it were to happen.
So yeah, I think what I hypothesized last episode that he's done with this, but it is going to continue to go.
Yeah.
He's made his money. He's satisfied. You know, now there's going to be. It's like in Spaceballs. You know.
Yeah.
all the merchandising and the I'm pretty excited for the sequel that happens like 20 years in the future.
Oh.
Where the baby gets put in the games, and it's like I've played these games so far.
On that note, especially since we're going to do another wrap-up episode where we can talk about everybody else's thoughts, I think I'm ready to end the episode, Mike.
Yeah, I am as well. We'll see you guys in about a month when we do our full wrap-up episode like we tend to do, and then in the meantime, you guys can check out What Is This, a Crossover episode. It's a podcast with a similar vibe to this one where Sean and I go over BoJack Horseman, which is a series that had a finite ending, and we're gonna.
I think we enjoy it.
I
think we enjoy it a little bit more than than we've been enjoying.
I do think it's a better show than Squid Game. Season 1's up there though. I really enjoyed my time with season 1 of
Squid Game. Season 1 for me will always be a special moment. It's and honestly, I really enjoyed the reality show. I had a really good time doing that with you.
Yeah.
But I don't know about season 2.
I don't. To be fair, I didn't hate this experience between season 2 and season 3. I just thought it was a big step down from season 1, and I think it could have been better.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm not an overly critical guy, but
yeah,
my critical voice definitely came out here, I think. So I apologize to anybody that thought we were maybe overly negative on it.
Judging by what I'm seeing online, I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't either. I think we're right in line with everybody. But anyway,
thanks guys for listening. I kept
rambling after you said you agreed to end the episode, so we both agreed to end the episode, and we will see you guys soon.
I'm hitting the button now to blow up the Squid Boys studio.
Well, that means we have 30 minutes.
Hang on, I'm like speeding it up. I'm speeding
Don't
up.
blow up the studio yet. We can blow up the studio in the next episode.
Okay, we'll blow it up in the but we need it for the challenge, don't we?
Nah, we'll blow it up.
Okay, all right. We will blow up the studio next episode. Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right, bye.